What's going on, everybody? Curtis Wilkerson back with you again from Inside Arkansas on the pod at the Palace for a fresh episode of the Inside Arkansas Hoop Hogs Video Mailbag, where you guys ask me an Arkansas basketball-related question, and I do my best to answer it. A lot of different ways that you can get those to me. I have a pinned tweet on my Twitter profile at Kurt Wilkerson _, where you can drop your questions in there, throw them in a DM. If you watch these videos on YouTube, you can hop in the comments there, send me an email, whatever. But if you got a question about this basketball team, throw them my way, and I'll make sure that I get to them. We post one of these a day on our YouTube page at Inside Arkansas. So let's get into today's question, and it's a good one from Kiss Off the Glass. Like I said it last time, but this is just a solid Twitter handle. I really like it. But based on expectations, who do you believe has the highest chance of underachieving on this roster? It's a fair and it's a valid question. One, before anybody gets mad about what I have to say here, I am not predicting this for anybody. I'm answering a question. All right. Somebody wants to know who has the highest chance of underachieving. We're going to try to look at it as objectively as we can and talk about it. So relax a little bit. I hope everybody on this team hits. Here's the thing about this roster build, though, for Arkansas. They need everybody on this roster to hit, especially those top nine in the rotation, because when you build a roster that has a set amount of pieces that you expect to contribute, you really can't afford to have injuries, and you can't afford to have misses in your evaluation. So the staff has specific expectations for every one of these guys, especially in that top nine, and they need them to all hit. So when we look at it, everybody, it's different. People value different things in players, you know, what they expect from them. I might feel like I'm really bullish on Carter Knox and Big Z, for example, probably more so than a lot of people are. So they might have a higher chance of underachieving based on my personal expectations. But trying to look at it from a big picture standpoint, let's check on this roster a little bit. So I think the two big time transfers, Nelly Davis and Jonas Adou, I'm buying it. Like, I'm picking up what they're putting down. I think both of those guys are going to hit. Obviously, Adou's done it at a high level in the SEC. Nelly Davis, super experienced, Final Four guy. He's been a leading scorer at FAU for 2 years, the top player in the transfer portal. I think that both of those guys are going to meet expectations, which are pretty lofty at Arkansas, no doubt about it. You know, if you look at the freshmen, I think it would be a cop-out answer if I went to you and said one of the freshmen, because it's always an unknown. I mean, all three of those guys are, you know, 5-star caliber players. You got a couple of McDonald's All-Americans in the mix, but you never know until you know how something's going to translate from high school to the SEC. So it'd be easy for me to say, hey, you know, Boogie Flan, they expect a lot out of him as a 5-star freshman, but you never know about freshmen in the SEC. Yeah, I think that's fair answer to give, but I don't want to do that because it almost feels like a cop-out. I want to go with the guys with some sample size who we've really seen before, watching on our televisions, watching in the SEC, watching at a high level in college basketball, and where things might fall there. I think there's probably 2 or 3 names that you could look at here. One that really stands out to me, I think, would be DJ Wagner. And listen, I'm a big DJ Wagner fan. I think he got a bad rap at Kentucky last season. Yeah, he failed to meet the expectations that he had coming into his freshman year at Kentucky. So it would probably be easy to point to him and say, well, if the expectations are still high, why would you expect things to change? But man, he wasn't a one and done. He didn't come across as maybe that top prospect in his class that he was ranked as for a long time coming up through high school. But he still averaged 10 points and nearly 3.5 assists per game as a true freshman. I think it's kind of a split, right? There are some people who think, hey, this is a guy who's, you know, got his feet wet, got a year of experience under his belt, and he's really going to take off. And we're going to see a new level in his game. And I'm one of the people who subscribes to that thought. I believe that. If you go look at the projections at barttorvik.com, I think they have him projected, DJ I'm talking about, as Arkansas's second leading scorer behind Nelly Davis. I think they got him like over 13 points per game, over 3 assists per game. So a big time contributor who's a much better version of himself his sophomore year compared to his freshman year. But there's also the line of thinking of, well, he's not a super explosive guy offensively, has not been a consistent 3-point shooter really in high school or even at the college level. Do you really anticipate that he's going to make a big leap there? He's had a nagging ankle injury that bothered him towards the stretch run of last season. You see him in an ankle brace this year. I know it's still something he's working to get back to 100% health on. So DJ might be a guy that I point to there. That would make a little bit of sense of maybe falling short of some expectations that might be out there for him. Trevon Brazil would probably be another one. And I've known Trevon Brazil going back to when he was like 6'5" and he was playing high school basketball in Springfield, Missouri. It was crazy to see his growth spurt, the way his game took off, his development. But, I think he almost had unfair expectations, I think, coming back from that ACL injury last year. He was a first team All SEC preseason prediction. A lot of people thought that he'd just hop right back in from that injury and be a first round NBA draft pick type of guy. And he definitely had his moments. I mean, we saw it against Duke. We saw it at times early in the season where he was snatching double doubles and knocking down threes. But then we also saw a lot of limitations in his game. It was tough for him the further along he got in the season. He had to sit out for a while dealing with some soreness in that knee. And I think you look at it and on one hand, it's, hey, clean slate, fresh start, new coaching staff. He's a year removed from that injury. Time for him to get back to the Brazil we saw as, his first 10 games at Arkansas before he had that injury. And that's not a guarantee. I think Cal's doing the right things here by, forcing him to get comfortable being uncomfortable, like he likes to say, be more aggressive, putting on the floor, be tougher and more physical around the rim, not settling and relying on the three ball, which we know he can shoot, but that needs to be part of his game, not his entire game offensively. But at the end of the day, just because people have high potential and high ceilings doesn't mean they always reach it. And so for folks who think, hey, he's going to turn that page and become a, all SEC performer, and this is the year he vaults back up into that first round draft selection territory. I would love to see that. And I'm a big Trevon Brazil fan, but he could be another guy where you might need to temper expectations a little bit for, especially until we kind of see what's going on there. So maybe those would be two guys. And it feels weird again, like I said, talking about it, because I'm pretty bullish on this roster. And I believe in guys who develop and improve year over year, or who get, more time removed from injury. But, just in fairness, answering the question, Adou Thiero might be another one to look at there too, because you think about expectations, especially those who haven't watched him as much. I mean, I think it's a little bit different perspective for an Arkansas fan compared to a Kentucky fan who's watched him for a couple years and has a better understanding of his game. Arkansas fans, we remember Adou Thiero. We've seen him play. Really, really nice piece. I think his floor is just being a super versatile defender, a big time rebounder, a super athlete out there on the floor who does the dirty work, gets on the glass. But there's, when he came to Arkansas, the thing that people were most excited about was, wow, this is a dude who's popping up on first round mock drafts for 2025, because there's a thought that he's this close to realizing another level to his game and his full potential. A lot of it centers around developing his game offensively. Now, he's got some guard skills at his size, no doubt about it. There's some potential in that jump shot, but can it really become a consistent weapon in his arsenal? You'd like to think yes. And if it does, that increases not only his ceiling, but Arkansas' ceiling as a whole. But we haven't seen that yet. I think he's made 10 3-pointers over the course of his career. So, I think betting on that development and taking that next step, it comes with a little bit of risk there. So you might throw him on the list there as well. I think the expectations probably would be the highest for DJ. Therefore, that might be my ultimate answer, but wanting to give you a couple other guys to keep an eye on there as well. You don't need everybody to maximize their potential for this experiment to go well for Arkansas, but you can't have any busts. You can't have any complete misses. How close those guys get to reaching their ceiling will probably ultimately determine how far Arkansas makes it this year, but I'm sure there's going to be ebbs and flows across the way. So appreciate the question. That's a tricky one, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it all turns out there. But keep these things flowing, people. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of different ways to get those questions into me. Make sure that you get subscribed to our YouTube page, Inside Arkansas. We post one of these every single day at 8 o'clock in the morning. Our goal is to have at least one question that we can answer every single day up until the start of the college basketball season. That's November. So we got a long ways to go, but we still have a ton of questions to get to. But I'm going to get out of here. Got another one of these to record. Appreciate you guys for tuning in as always. The support, the interaction, the engagement. It's all very cool. This has been Curtis Wilkerson with the Pod at the Palace, and we'll catch you guys in the morning.